I got married when I was 28 years old, and my husband was 30 years old. We've been together for 6 years, but we've actually only been married for 1 year. Maybe tomorrow morning I will delete this post, but right now, I need to scream. I need to pour out everything that is weighing me down into the unknown void. We have a 3-month-old daughter, a little angel with eyes as clear as morning dewdrops, and a smile that melts my heart every time she opens her lips. I am a mother and housewife, a role I thought I would embrace with joy and devotion. I used to dream about the days when I could stay home, take care of my children, cook delicious meals, and wait for my husband to come home after a day of work. My husband works from home, a job that he proudly boasts requires great concentration and provides a stable income for the family. From the outside, our life is probably picture perfect. A small home with the sound of children's laughter, a lovely, healthy child, and a husband who many would say works. But inside, deep inside me, is a storm of emotions roaring, a suffocating feeling that I couldn't escape, no matter how hard I tried. My husband is not stupid. I have to admit that from the beginning. He is smart, at times very thoughtful, and was someone I believed would build a happy life with me. But sometimes he's surprisingly insensitive, as if my heart were a book he never bothered to open, or worse, he didn't know existed. My resentment began to simmer during my pregnancy, a period that should have been filled with joy, anticipation, and warm moments between husband and wife. But to me, it felt like a lonely journey amidst invisible knives, sharp words, and indifference that I could never forget. My mother-in-law is the source of most of that pain. I tried to love her, tried to keep peace because I knew she was important to him. But during 9 months of pregnancy, she turned those days into a series of never-ending nightmares. She often came to my house, bringing with her horrifying stories about miscarriages that she had heard from somewhere, telling them with a worried expression as if she was predicting my fate. She talked about unlucky children, hinting that I might not be strong enough to keep the baby in my belly. One time, when my husband was not present, she said words that made me cold. I tried to stay calm, telling myself that she was just being unintentional, that maybe she wasn't aware of how much her words hurt me. But each sentence was like a cut, leaving invisible scars in my heart. I told my husband, hoping he would stand up for me, even if it was just a gentle word to his mother. He listened, his eyes sparkled with sympathy, but then he said nothing. I asked him if he could do something, maybe tell my mother that those words hurt me, but he shook his head, saying that would only make things more complicated, that I should let it go. His mother denied everything when I tried to confront her, laughed loudly and said I was too sensitive. So I had to swallow the pain, comforting myself that I needed to be strong for my child, that I couldn't let these things defeat me. Then she was born, a moment that I thought would dispel all the darkness in my heart and bring light to those dark days. But no, things only got worse, as if life wanted to test the limits of my endurance. When I was in the hospital, my body was weak after giving birth, so my husband chose to go home and sleep instead of staying with me. He said the sofa in the hospital was uncomfortable, that he needed to rest to keep up his strength to work, and that he couldn't sleep in that cramped space. I understand he's tired too. I don't deny it. But the loneliness in the cold white room of the hospital made me cry. I called him, not once or twice, but 20 times in one night, begging him to come back just to sit with me so I wouldn't have to face my fears alone. One time he picked up the phone. His voice was sleepy, promising to come right away. But then I waited for hours more in vain, clutching the phone like a life preserver in an empty ocean. When he finally appeared, his hair disheveled and his eyes still red from sleep, I no longer had the strength to be angry. I could only hold his hand and try to smile weakly, as if I had to thank him for coming. On the day I left the hospital, I thought things would get better, that we would start a new chapter together with our little one. But no, he asked me to help carry things to the car, as if forgetting that I had just gone through a painful birth, that my body was still sore and weak. I stood there, trembling hands clutching my stomach, not knowing what to say to make him understand. Then a nearby nurse spoke up for me, sternly reminding him that I was not allowed to lift anything heavy, that I needed absolute rest. He nodded, apologizing briefly, but I saw in his eyes a slight discomfort. as if I was wasting his time, as if I was a burden that he had to endure. On the way home, I looked out the window, tears silently falling down my cheeks. But I didn't let him see. I don't want you to think I'm weak. I don't want you to have more reasons to complain. When I got home, everything became even more serious, like a spiral with no way out. I struggled to learn how to breastfeed, and the first few days were a series of indescribable pain and fatigue. The pain from the surgery, the sleepless nights when my baby cried for food, and the confusion when I didn't know if I did the right thing, all made me so exhausted that I just wanted to collapse. My husband cheered me on. I have to give him credit for trying at that point. Those words were my motivation and made me feel loved and appreciated. But now, they only make me more bitter, like a reminder that he only knows how to talk, but his actions never follow. While I only get a few hours of sleep every night, sometimes just short, dreamy naps, he sleeps soundly for 8 to 10 hours, not paying any attention to the baby's cries or the times when I quietly sit in the corner of the room, holding the baby and crying silently. He complained that he was exhausted from work, that he needed sleep to stay energized, and that he couldn't concentrate without sleep. Every time I hear him say that, I feel like a fire is burning inside, burning away my last bit of patience. Exhausted? Do you know that I haven't had enough sleep? Do you know how many times I have to wake up every night to feed my child, to put him to sleep? And then the next morning I still have to get up to do everything around the house? I tried to tell him, tried to explain that I also needed him to share, that I was not a superhero to carry it all alone. But those conversations only lead to arguments and back and forth words that ultimately resolve nothing. You don't understand or don't want to understand. He just looked at me, sighed, and said, "Don't overdo it. I'm tired too." I wanted to scream that I wasn't doing too much, that I was calling for help, but I didn't have the strength to scream anymore. My mother-in-law made things even worse, as if she wanted to test my limits. She often came to the house, bringing with her endless stories about the perfect mothers she knew, the ones who had just given birth and were able to do everything around the house without complaining. She leaves a mess behind every visit and comments that make me want to cry. One time, my husband complained that the basement was too messy, that he couldn't work in such a space. Even though I had just given birth not long ago, even though my body was still sore, I still tried to help him lift the furniture to satisfy him, to avoid another unnecessary argument. I don't want him to be angry. I don't want to hear him repeat the sentence, "Can't you help?" But as a result, I had a lot of bleeding and had to call the doctor in panic, my heart pounding with fear. The doctor strictly warned me not to do heavy work, that my body needed time to recover, that I could be in danger if I didn't rest. I told my husband, hoping he would sympathize and pay more attention to my condition, but he didn't seem to remember for long. He kept asking me to help him lift this and that, and when I refused, he was irritable all day, walking back and forth in the house with a heavy face, as if I was intentionally making things difficult for him. I tried to explain, tried to say that I couldn't, that the doctor had told me to rest, but he just turned away, leaving me with a feeling of guilt and helplessness, as if I was the one at fault for not being able to fulfill his wishes. Now, when she is 3 months old, I feel my marriage is on the brink of collapse, an abyss that I don't know how to pull myself out of. We are far apart. There are no longer warm hugs or intimate moments that were once the breath of our love. I don't want to touch him. I don't want to say the words of love that I used to utter naturally as a part of myself. He realized that. He asked me if I was okay. His eyes sparkled with worry mixed with confusion. But I just showed that I was okay, even though, inside, I was screaming the exact opposite. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to express that every time he walks into the room, I feel suffocated with tension, that every word he says is now just like a burden on my shoulders. How can I say that I'm suffering, that I no longer recognize myself in this chaos of emotions, that I feel like I'm gradually turning into a pale shadow next to him? Today is the day when everything explodes, like a time bomb finally exploding after many days of accumulation. I stayed up at 2:30 a.m. to take care of my baby, breastfeed her, and rock him to sleep, while my body was so exhausted that I just wanted to collapse on the floor. My eyes sting from lack of sleep. My arms and legs shake from fatigue, but I still try, because she is the only light that keeps me standing. My husband criticized me again for not walking the dog, something I used to do regularly before giving birth. But now just thinking about it makes me shiver because I no longer have the energy. I tried to explain that I couldn't, that I just wanted a little rest, that I was overwhelmed with taking care of the baby and everything around the house. But he didn't listen. He grumbled, complained, then reluctantly took the dog away, not forgetting to make a rash promise. I couldn't hold back any longer, shouting that I hadn't slept 8 hours in months, that I couldn't stand his unreasonable complaints anymore. He got angry, his face turned red, his eyes flashed, then left, locking himself in the office all day as a way to punish me, as if I was the one in the wrong for daring to speak up. I stayed with my child, trying to keep myself from collapsing, but tears kept flowing uncontrollably, rolling down my cheeks and soaking my shirt. I hugged her, whispered words of love to comfort myself, but inside, there was an emptiness that could not be filled. By 11 p.m., when he still hadn't left the office, I couldn't stand it anymore. I knocked on the door, walked in, and saw him sitting there, cold as a stranger, without any expression on his face. I broke down completely, tears fell like rain, and I told him everything I had kept in my heart for so long. I said that I hated him, that I wanted to bring my child back to my mother's house, that I was even thinking about divorce, that I couldn't continue to live in this indifference and loneliness anymore. He panicked, pulled me back, apologized for being selfish, his voice trembling as if he truly regretted it. I asked him what he did all day while I struggled out there, and he innocently replied, "I took a nap." Nap? While I struggled to keep myself standing, while I cried silently every night from exhaustion, while I tried to do everything to keep this family from falling apart, he took naps all day. I cried until I couldn't breathe, cried until I felt like my heart was breaking into pieces, small pieces falling to the cold floor. He apologized, said he loved me, that he would change, that he didn't want to lose me and the baby. He hugged me, his hands were shaking, but I couldn't feel any warmth from that hug. For the first time in my life, I couldn't say, "I love you too," couldn't utter the words that I thought would forever be the truth between us. I just quietly turned away, leaving him with belated apologies and an unfillable void between the two people who swore to be together forever. It's 2 a.m. now. My husband is snoring next to me. His sleep was peaceful, as if nothing had ever happened, as if my tears were just a passing breeze that wasn't worth his concern. And I sit here, writing these lines with a broken heart, tears still rolling down my cheeks, seeping into every word I type. I looked at her sleeping soundly in her crib, her pretty little lips smiling softly in her dream, and part of me wanted to pick her up, leave this place, leave the man I once loved more than myself. I want to start a new life where I don't have to deal with indifference, meaningless whining, and feelings of abandonment every day. Being a single mother will probably be difficult and challenging, but at least I won't have to live in this pain, and won't have to pretend to laugh when I'm so disappointed. But then I thought, am I being too emotional? Am I willing to give up this marriage just because he took a nap, because of the times he was inattentive, or because I'm too tired to continue hoping for a change that may never come? I don't know what to do. I don't know where the road ahead will lead me. I just know that right now, I'm miserable. I'm alone. And I no longer see the light at the end of this long, dark road. Maybe tomorrow morning, when the sunlight shines through the window and the baby wakes up crying for food, I will delete this post. I'll continue to pretend that everything is okay and play the role of the strong wife and mother that everyone expects. I will stand up, wipe my tears, and walk into the kitchen to prepare breakfast, as if this night never happened. But now, in this moment, I just want to cry, scream, run away from everything. From him, from this house, from the emotions that are tearing me apart. I want to find myself again. Find the woman who once smiled brightly next to her husband, who believed that love could overcome all difficulties. But I don't know where to start. I don't know if I still have the strength to find it again. That scared me more than anything. Scared that I would forever be trapped in this pain, in a life I no longer wanted to belong to.